Hello everyone, welcome back to the series of Core Java, and in our lesson number 5 we are going to learn about if, else and switch statement. So these are conditional statement which are commonly used in Java, and these are very important whenever we are going to write some, even in a competitive code or in any project or in production also. So let's start with our first subtopic, that is if else statement. So to understand the if else statement, we are going to use four variables, okay, a, b, c and d, and we have assigned some values to them. So in our last lesson, we have seen some basic example of this if else statement when we are learning about the relational operators. So similarly, I will write this exactly the same kind of code. So let's say if a equals to b, then some line of code will run. For example, println. Okay, that is a is equal to b. So in case this condition is not satisfied, that means a equal to b, boolean value true is not returned, then we can write a else statement also. Earlier in our lesson number 4 we have seen the else statement. That means if condition is not satisfied, then a block of code will run, and then if it is not satisfied, then the else block of code will be run. But in this case of else if, that means if is not satisfied, then the else if will run, and else if is not satisfied and we have declared another block of code under else, then that block of code will be run. So the first statement, the first condition is a equal to b, then we can say a greater than equal to c, or yeah, so one block of code we can write here, a is greater than or equal to c, right? Here also, just for better understanding, I'll use the same operator, same relational operator. Okay, so else if we can write as many times as we want. Okay, so we can write like this: else if equal to uh, a greater than equal to d, then print something. A is, okay, I'll just copy this part. D, here also I'll copy it. Okay, for else case, that means the default case, we will write none of the conditions is satisfied. Okay, simply. So let's see what happens when I run it. Here a greater than b is not satisfied, obviously. So the next condition is that a greater than equal to c. So obviously here the value of a is 10 and c is also 10. So this condition is satisfied, and we are able to see the output as a is greater than or equal to c. One thing you may have noticed, okay, here you can see d is equal to 5, and even this condition is also being satisfied, right? Because a is greater than d, that means a is equal to 10 and d is equal to 5. So obviously a is greater than d, but this statement is not printed. So from here we can understand that whenever in the whole if else conditional statement, whichever condition is satisfied, that block of code will only be run, except that none of the block of code will be run. Okay, that will happen as the first come first serve basis. That means whichever condition is satisfied first, only that block of code will be run. So here this one is satisfied first, so this block of code is run and this part is ignored. Okay, so just for better understanding, I'll change this value of c to 15. Now obviously we'll see that this block of code, This block of code is now run successfully. Okay, so basically this is how if else statement works, but I want to add another subtopic in if else, that is nested if else. Okay, so nested if else is nothing, simply for example in any of this condition, it is not necessary that only a single line of code is written. I could have used curly braces. Okay, if I used curly braces, so what will happen when I use curly braces is that when whatever code, how many lines of code I want to write, that is possible, not just single. So for example here I have written a system println statement. I can add another line of code simply like uh, this is true. Okay, so I can add this here also, for example. Okay, so just to show one example of nested if else, I will write another code like e equals to 10. Okay, I will declare another variable. So for example, now here else if a greater than d is satisfied, then I can write another code like if a equal to e, then simply print like a is equal to e. So this is your nested. Here also curly braces will be applied simply. You can write further codes inside this block of curly braces. So let's run this code. So yeah, so as expected we can see these two are already printed as before. Then as this nested if is also satisfied, then we can see that a is equal to e is also printed. So this is how nested if else works. So moving on to the next topic, that is switch condition. So to understand the switch statement better, I have already written a piece of code because it would have taken some time. So to understand this example, I have declared one variable a which is equal to 5. So the switch statement, the syntax of this switch statement is like you need to write switch, and in the bracket you need to send the value, like how you send the value in a function or in a method. Similar to that only, we will send the value of a inside this switch statement, and we will have a curly braces to engulf or to contain the block of code. So in switch statement, whatever argument or the value is sent inside this switch block is compared with the value that which we declare along with the case. So for example, case 1. Okay, so the case 1 means the value of a will be compared with 1. Case 2 means value of a will be compared with 2. This is not like a serial number of case 1, 2, 3, 4, not like that. That's why I have broken the chain and simply written case 10 like that. Okay, simply it means that we are comparing the values of a with 1, 2, or whatever value that we write beside case. Okay, so in this case, so whatever value it may be equal, we are printing some block of code. So if I run this code, we'll see three of the code blocks are being run. Okay, which is why, because the a is equal to 5, so this line of code is satisfied. So that means it will print a is equal to 5. And the nature of switch case is that whenever a condition is satisfied, after that all of the code will be run. That means here case 5, that means a equal to 5 is satisfied and this block of code is run. So after that, whatever case there may be, it may not satisfy the condition, but even then all of the block of code will be run, like a is equal to 10, as you can see, is printed, and the default value is also printed. Default means whatever case that we have declared manually, except that any other case if it falls, like for example in if else, some condition we have put, right? So whatever condition that we manually put, if that is not satisfied, then only else will be run. So here in switch also default acts like else of if else. Okay, so here there may be something like we do not want to run the case 10 and we do not want to run the default. So what we can do in such a case, we can simply use this break keyword. Okay, so if I write break here and run this, you can see a is equal to 5. Only this block of code is run, and this other the below block of code will be ignored because now we have added break. So keep in mind, whenever we use a switch case, the line of code where the condition is satisfied, after that all will be run, and if you want to avoid that, then you need to use the break keyword. Now let's say we use some value which is not satisfied in our condition, for example 6. Now if I run this, you will see this is the default block. That means all of the condition which is not satisfied, then it will simply move on to the default block and it will run the default block. Okay, that's why we usually write it at the end. Okay, hope you understood the if else and switch statement. And if you have any doubt, then comment down below. We will surely try to solve your doubts. Thank you.